and give thanks for Yogi Bhajan, because this trip has been special talking to Akasha, and he shares some stories about a man that gave everything he had to follow a vision. And that vision was for us to gather in this way and be prepared for this coming time called the Aquarian Age. And if we are all here together, then that means that there is a purpose for us and there's a memory of us doing this together. It's just like in a caterpillar's body when the imaginal cells come online. It's just a signal from the universe, from the source, and those imaginal cells start to wake up, just like us. But then there are the caterpillar cells that don't want to be anything else but caterpillar cells. So they start trying to attack the imaginal cells. And imaginal cells have a guidance system where they begin to find each other. I mean, people have traveled from countries to be in this sacred place. We are like those imaginal cells. And as the Creator would design it, when the imaginal cells start to gather, they start to chant Waheguru, they start to chant Adgare Name, they start to chant Satanama, then all of a sudden, there's our tipping point.
My name is Chris Whittaker, and I healed myself from IBS, chronic fatigue, depression, and anxiety.
Hi, my name is Avo Garbushian, and welcome to our Path to Healing. Joining me here today is Chris Whittaker from Toronto, Ontario, with his remarkable and amazing story of awakening and healing.
Hello world, my name is Avo Garbushian and I'm the host of our Path to Healing, and today we have Chris Whittaker. And Chris and I met back about a couple of years ago, but I think it was at the Crystal Shop down the street where we work.
Happy Soul.
Happy Soul, yeah. And then that's where we first connected. And then since then, I've taken a few of your Kundalini yoga classes as well, very transformative as well for me, yeah. And Chris is an awesome guy, and when I spoke with him, his story really touched me because he went through his own personal transformation from bringing himself from very bad health that just came out of nowhere and to like being who you are today. And I think it was how long ago was this? When you were thinking you were 23 years old? Was
23, 8 years ago.
Hit you? Yeah.
Yeah.
And tell me a bit more of what happened.
Okay. So I'll go right from the moment that it happened.
Mm-hmm.
I remember drinking whey protein, the first thing I drank, probably about 11 a.m., 8 years ago, summer day, heading to the beach, Sandbanks actually, specifically, that beach. And went with some friends, and we're playing, we're playing volleyball, and that's something I really enjoy. I like being really athletic at the beach, and just started getting really bad stomach pains. I had to just start watching the game, and then it just started progressively getting worse and worse, like really sharp, like right all the way into the, I guess like bowels, but like just like really deep pain and nausea. And then my body just started purging. I just started puking, and then I wanted to like crawl off and find a space where I could puke on my own because it wasn't stopping, and I wasn't drinking that day or anything like that. And I found a spot that there was nobody around, and I probably puked for about 2 hours straight, and it was mainly bile. It's really painful. I felt really drained afterwards. I was finally able to get up. Everyone asked me where I was. I let them know what happened. They're like, "Oh, why don't you eat something?" I tried to eat. I got a few French fries, and then we headed back, and I went to bed pretty early because I really felt quite awful. And I woke up the next day, and my life was never the same.
Yeah.
Woke up, brutal nausea, bloating, this inflammation, real burning feeling in my gut, incredibly fatigued, like foggy, in my mind.
You were always in great shape from what you told me. I mean, you were into martial arts and you were very fit. You had a good diet as well.
Yeah, I was training all the time. Yeah, right when I first went to my doctor, I was looking at these symptoms and I was like, I think it might be an ulcer. So I let her know that, and pretty soon after, either that appointment or the next one, she gave me a Nexium, which is like an ulcer medication. I think it's also for if you have a lot of acidity. Took it for about 3 weeks or a month, and wasn't doing anything. And I just had a feeling too. I'm like, yeah, she has no idea whether I have an ulcer or not.
Yeah.
So I ended up going off of that, and then ended up prescribing me to a gastroenterologist, where I got the endoscopy, the colonoscopy. Oh, and I was already doing a bunch of blood tests with her, as well as, was it a CAT scan?
Yeah.
And so we kind of went through all this, and
so you had a lot of testing done.
Yeah, and they could not find anything. They could not find anything. So at the end of the day, they diagnosed it as IBS, because that's what they do when they don't know about the digestive issues that you're having. They don't understand them. Yeah.
Wow. And after that, what other experiences do you have? Like, were you ever, in a serious situation with your IBS? I mean, did it like flare up a lot, or was it just like you had this one occurrence?
Oh no, it was all the time. I lived with this for years, like years and years. It was really bad though for the first couple of years. So within a month and a half, I had this same experience happen again, where I just started puking bile, and just like waterfalls of sweat coming off of my head. This was after a day of work, and my girlfriend comes home. I'm in the bathroom, and I'm just laying on the floor. I'm like, call 911. Like, it was really, really, really bad, and she didn't even know what to do. She started freaking out. She's like, she hasn't seen me like this. She knew what happened at the beach, but then it's like, oh, now this is like really severe. Like, it's a really big problem. So the ambulance ended up coming to take me, because I actually couldn't even get up off of the bathroom floor. It was that bad. I was that drained of everything.
So were you hospitalized?
Yeah. So they put me on like the intravenous, gave me Gravol, and I didn't stop puking till that morning, actually. That is probably bouts like every half an hour.
So, and how many years does this last for again?
Well, it's hard to say. Like, it's lasted all the way up till now. I would say I'm probably like 95%. Just have like a few small issues, but for the severity of it was probably a couple of years, because that happened again as well a couple months later, and then I went to the hospital and they just said, oh, you have food poisoning, even though I was like curled up on the ground in the hospital waiting in those chairs, and we're waiting for a few hours, and everyone saw me there. They're like, this guy can go first. Even people that were going in, he's not doing well. And I had a really high pain tolerance. I'm not a person that like I need extra attention because of the pain that I'm going through. Usually I can really handle myself. And
yeah, I was reading on your online bio as well that, I mean, you suffered through anxiety, depression as well, and other physical symptoms as well. And what did you do after, I guess, seeing all these doctors and getting diagnosed with IBS? You just obviously dealt with the pain without any drugs. When was the moment where you actually decided to do something about your situation, to like, I guess maybe even in my mind, I would think like bridge that mind body connection to figure out,
I feel like this process was leading me into that naturally, but immediately I wanted to do something. So immediately I'm starting to research things and just see what these issues relate to, and I see how there are so many gut health issues that people have that were unknown. I hear about it now all the time, but when it happened to me, it wasn't as, like 8 years ago, it wasn't as known, and also the connection with the gut and the brain. So relating to the mind. I guess it's hard to like pinpoint. I don't think there was any like certain moment of that, but basically what I realized is this purging was happening is it was bringing up these repressed emotions and these subconscious belief systems, and dealing with the pain allowed me to detach from the pain with still being present with it. So that detachment actually let me observe more, and let me observe more of my mind and what I was feeding in my mind, and allowed me to actually go through the emotional process of what was there, which is really uncomfortable stuff. Then on your normal day-to-day, especially if you're working or if you have a family, if you have all the other things going on, it's not easy to have space for that. But I had no other choice, and pretty soon into being sick, I started my own buy and sell business, just online, buying and selling things, and so that I could support myself, and so I wouldn't have to go on welfare. And this also helped kind of bring my attention away from always being in the pain, because it was incredibly chronic. I could barely even eat anything. Salad would go down a bit easier, and smoothies, but basically everything I ate gave me a level of discomfort, which also started to make a weird relationship with me and food. You mentioning this really brings up a book that assisted me in the beginning. I really take a holistic approach, so there's so much to go into as far as this goes, and there was only so much time in an interview. But The Presence Process is a book that really comes up by Michael Brown. I remember this one, and remember there's one exercise that I would do, especially when me and my girlfriend got, and there's more like anger and things got emotional, and we just felt like we couldn't communicate anymore. But I also used this when I was just going through a lot of pain, and it was inhale in, I'm, exhale here, inhale, I'm here now in this. No, I am here now in this. So inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. And that really brought a lot of presence. And then I was able to come back into the situation very present. And this is where I see so much related to this pain and this detachment is any need for me to be right, like really coming into I just want to know the truth of the situation, you know, and I want resolve, and that resolve doesn't have to be formed from my opinion. I just want deeper understanding, and this is what this sickness led me to, was the patience to really be in this space, because it did bring up so much insecurity. We're talking about anxiety and depression. I didn't realize how much those things impacted me since I was young. My mom had mental disorder ever since I was born. She was diagnosed with O.C.D, quite severely depressed, suicidal at times. My dad wasn't around. They split up when I was in grade 6, and I hadn't really built much trust and relationship with him. So
you had some past traumas as well that might have been like hidden inside yourself.
Yeah,
you had to deal with.
Because it relates a bit more to neglect, although my mom never intended that at all. But because she was dealing with her own inner demons in those ways, there wasn't the same presence for me growing up, and I wasn't aware of that. In many ways, I liked my childhood. I had a fair bit of freedom, but this is kind of a lot of my life, which I'm grateful isn't this way anymore. But I was like, it's me like running into walls, you know. I'd run into a wall. Okay, don't go that way. Okay, no, don't go that way. It's like my whole life has been learning the hard way.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I guess it's nice to have an example of how to live as well. But if you didn't have somebody to give you that example as well, or even either a parent figure or a teacher that can give you some sort of guidance as well, you have to figure it yourself.
Yeah.
Right? And unfortunately, in our current way of being in our society, we don't have in our education system actually how to deal with our own emotional issues as well. So it's remarkable that you actually sat with that and found a way. So what was next after that? What other modalities did you find? What did you do?
And is Reiki. Reiki first came to me at the beginning. I did level 1 and 2 for that, so I started being able to heal myself with Reiki, which made me more aware of the chakras at that point. I think it allowed for even a deeper focus of attention in the area, especially in my gut area, which was having the most issues, and then to feel a flow of energy going in there. So it helped to allow things to circulate more. Obviously there was like chi, meaning like life force energy, was stagnant in those areas. So to really allow for things to flow there, and knowing that until my hand no longer feels like warm and I feel like a buzzing energy in that area, until I don't feel that anymore, that area needs more. It needs more energy. So that allowed me to really stay with that, knowing that, okay, I know what this feeling is, so I need to be with this until it goes away. So it really helped with that. I wouldn't say Reiki was like the #1 thing for me, but it came near the beginning, and I feel like it came for a reason. Nutrition was a huge point. So I started cleansing. I remember Dan the Life Regenerator on YouTube. This guy helped me out so much. He was talking about how juicing heals disease and all this stuff. So I remember doing a 7-day juice fast, and I didn't know about any of these things. Like, so I went into this with like some fear. He was talking about go raw. Like, we had one video with him, go raw, stay raw. He has these like cool glasses on. I'm just like looking at this guy. I'm like, who are you? It's just like, he was kind of corny actually in ways, but he was like just amazing. He's filled with this life force energy. He's like, I want to help people. This is what this works, you know? So I started going into that. I feel like I tried to go raw and do some of these things a little bit too quickly, but also I've been extreme like that in a lot of my life. So at times I rebounded with some binge eating and things like that as well. So it was a learning process with that stuff.
Yeah.
I began juicing. I began more eating raw. I began more just like eating fruits and vegetables. But also, you know, this was, again, I was still going through a trial and error mode. This felt really good. But does that mean my body was ready for it right now? So everything was about tuning into my body, feel my body, listen to my body. What does my body need? Which I feel is so much of that mind-body disconnect that's happening. Is the mind is programming the body, which it does, which is fine. You can tell the body what to do, but it's like listen to the body, and so the mind can then go and get what the body needs to work with it, or maybe the body just. Might need some rest. I might just chill out, stop thinking. You know, like,
Sure.
let's just.
Well, it's our thoughts create our body, right? Our thoughts create our suffering, or our thoughts create our happiness. Right? What other modalities did you incorporate into your routine?
So
meditate at all?
Yoga was a big one. So I was meditating definitely with the presence process, and I was learning everything related to meditation. I didn't realize I was already learning meditation through this detachment and disidentification with the pain while still being present with it. I realized I was learning what meditation was without even knowing it. And actually some reading and going into it made it less natural. I actually was starting to try to meditate. So some of it was actually not helping. And it took me a couple of years to truly understand what meditation was in a way that I could explain it, and the way that I could transfer more of the message of what meditation is as beingness, and offer a space of awareness to people, as opposed to working with the mind. Meditation, we don't work with the mind. We notice the mind. You know, we bring attention to space. We bring attention to the space between thoughts. We bring attention to the formlessness, and we can become so one with that there is no separation. There's no separation between the physical and the non-physical.
It's being aware of that moment, I guess, without reacting as well.
Well, it's a reaction, so you can see the reaction, but usually we're so caught up in the reaction that we don't actually see that there's a choice. We just...
So you reacted?
Pain, so easy to react to. You have a reaction to pain. Oh, I want to figure this out. I want to understand what this is, so I'm going to go look on the internet. I'm going to try to figure all these things out. When if I could just allow myself to be with that pain, I'm going to start to understand how to work with that. And even simply just being with the pain and not resisting it already takes down the suffering. Sure. And starts to even eliminate some of the physical response that's happening.
So it's remaining equanimous and not either reacting in a positive or negative way, just kind of being neutral, just being balanced with yourself and observing and understanding that that presence, that what's happening.
Exactly.
That's an amazing skill to have, to I guess, to bring you on that path?
So on this process, I was in Belleville at the time, and then I moved to Peterborough, and that's where I met a great friend, we're still friends to this day, Fraser. We did kirtan, and kirtan was a huge part of my path. I remember doing kirtan for a couple of years, and kirtan and pranayama. So I remember getting together with Fraser at like 6 in the morning, like 3-4 days a week, and we'd start with pranayama and sit in meditation, and then kirtan. Yeah. And kirtan is like a devotional chanting, and it's really singing from the heart, as if like you're singing to the source, and you're singing almost like from the source, and really bringing that connection and that relationship to that space of where we come from. And you might have heard of Hare Krishna. John Lennon, the Beatles, I know like they had their version of it. So that's an example. So it is like singing, but it's not necessarily about like having a really amazing singing voice. Even some of the people that are really, say, popular with kirtan, it's not about that. It's about your devotion, and it's about like the love that's like coming from you, and that actually really helped my singing voice as well, because I could just like belt it out, and like, it really allowed me to like connect to a space where it doesn't matter. This has nothing to do with anyone else. This is about me and my connection with myself, and like that. So I found that really beautiful, and the kind of vibe. So that ended up coming into a meditation, and I found it as like a shortcut. So a lot of yogis over the times have said that our generation, kirtan is a really important one, because our minds are so active that we really need something to like focus on. So that things started to come up in the subconscious after kirtan, after about 30-40 minutes of it. Then all these emotions would start to come up, and it was a way to really be with your experience, which I found really amazing. And at that time, I mentioned to you about self-inquiry, as well as bhakti yoga. I was really into, which is bhakti yoga is like the path of love. And we got into Muji, Siri Muji. So I would do like online retreats and Muji's just pointing to the space of awareness. Like all he's doing is pointing to awareness. What are you identifying with, and to see any identification, and if you are labeling yourself whatsoever, well, then what sees that?
Essentially, it's making it sound like you're going with a flow, a natural flow. Whatever comes up, you're just embracing at that moment. That's what it seems like to me.
Yeah, totally. And like I mentioned earlier, because there was like a history of like mental disorder, there's a lot of like, I see depression as like prolonged sadness and kind of getting more stuck in that. There wasn't energy flowing, so that sadness wasn't able to be felt. And you say like the hurt that relates to that sadness, there's wisdom in those emotions, and when we allow ourselves to sit, and it's very difficult if you have a history with depression, like I did, especially in the family. It was like, oh my God, like I don't know if this is going to end. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get myself out of this. So to really be equipped with the tools of meditation, and just to experience yourself come out of it, the more and more you do, you see, oh, okay, I can flow with this. It does bottom out. It does eventually bottom out, and you rise up again. And I'm really grateful that I was able to give myself the opportunity to do this. At times it really didn't feel like I had a choice, because I was so sick. I didn't really feel like there was any other way, but I realized later to give myself credit and to have more pride in my journey, because I see that there's a lot of people who go through a lot of pain and get sick, and who haven't made the same choices that I've made. So that was even a big deal for me, to just like say, pat myself on the back.
You go through this journey, sometimes it's just so much coming at the same time, and you can also go through so much self-judgment as well, and that always comes up. But instead of relinquish that judgment and just allow yourself to just flow and just release yourself from any attachments. And it's the most beautiful thing when I hear somebody, especially hearing from you, that you've discovered something that actually allowed you to connect with yourself, and just also just let go of what's inside and just writing it out, and eventually being more enlightened with all these different healing modalities that you're using.
Anyway, the breath work is what really drew to me. So when I found Kundalini Yoga about 2 years ago, I see this is what made the biggest shift of me into action. From everything that I came to know, and then to be like, this is me, and this is what I'm here and have to offer to the world. So yeah, through Kundalini Yoga allowed me to be aware of all these areas in my body that's holding tension. And I touched these areas because this is one of the biggest areas that I realized that I was holding tension in my body. Mm-hmm. And it allowed me to just let that go, and to feel what it felt like to relax in this position, and how uncomfortable that was. But the yoga, it was like, okay, this is an hour and a half of sitting and being with this. Mm-hmm. So it only took me about, I don't know, I think I said after the second or third class, I was with one of my friends, and I'm like, I'm going to teach this. Mm-hmm. And I went to classes for several months, and I ended up going into this entrepreneur program, as I wanted to start to offer things related to emotional processing and meditation and breath work. And in this entrepreneur program, they actually helped to support me with a grant to get my Kundalini Yoga teacher training, because they really saw that of what I was offering to this world, and I also got a grant to help me with the work that I was doing as far as Consciousness Now goes.
So after you took the Kundalini Yoga program, and now you're teaching it, so it's been a couple of years since then. Do you feel yourself more aligned then?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, totally. Well, my energy's coming back again, and I'm on another level than I ever was, mm-hmm. and more conscious, but I don't know if you want to go there yet, but as far as how much I'm doing, like I'm able to do a lot and still feel energized. And one of the biggest things is I can still feel like fatigued after like a long day, or even at 5 o'clock after like a long work day. But I'm realizing not to listen to my mind as far as, oh, well, you're gonna need to go sleep for 3 hours, or oh, now you're not gonna be able to go out after, because I experienced a lot of that, because I lost so much energy that I really had to see, oh, I have limits, and I need to be more discerning with my energy and where I'm putting my attention. But now I've like learned that I can like rejuvenate myself in like 15 minutes if I really let loose, if I really just let it all drop and take in some long, slow, deep breaths. Maybe come on the grass in the summertime. That helps a lot. Like that's just where I was before me and you got together right now. So it's really incredible what the Kundalini Yoga has done, because it allows you to stay in awareness while your body is going through all these things that are quite uncomfortable, that normally we would just go into reaction or impulse, mm-hmm. and all these things are coming up. I'm going to go eat some food, or I'm going to go distract myself with TV, or I'm going to start to think of another reason to blame for why I'm feeling this way. Like get angry about something, or something might start off with your girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever it is. But I want to take full responsibility for my emotional experience, and what I'm feeling doesn't always have to do directly with me and my cause and effect, but it is my responsibility to feel how I'm being affected by my environments, mm-hmm. and then in that I can bring these things up. And I've learned that I'm not going to get mad at anybody if they're not aware, so I can bring it to their attention. If something's bothered me, so you did something that bothered me, I'm going to bring it to your attention. And yeah, I might get angry at first. I'm going to process that. That's not going to be there when I come talk to you, hopefully. and then I give you an opportunity, because maybe you had no idea that what you were doing hurts me. And I think so many of the problems in our relationships relate to thinking somebody is like hurting you or just not being considerate, when in reality, most of the time we're just unconscious that we're doing something that is affecting someone else negatively.
Of course, yeah. And not being self-aware is I believe it's the main issue of why relationships don't work. Yeah. Yeah. And actually using these modalities, aside from just bringing yourself back to health, balancing yourself, you're actually improving your relationships with yourself and with others.
Totally.
Which is, it's just a wonderful thing. And the fact that you're now contributing to society, contributing to other people's well-being by teaching it is a wonderful thing. I really commend you on your achievements and your progress.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I commend you as well for doing this. It's absolutely incredible.
Well, informing the world about people's experiences and their progress and their well-being is my goal, and helping other people find a path of their own by enlightening them with these experiences and modalities is I think the most important thing, at least at this point in our lives, because then at least the next step after that is, once we do on a global scale have a better life, better existence for people, just imagine what else we can achieve as a unified race of human beings, you know?
Yes,
So,
yes. Aho to that.
Yeah, aho, yeah, aho. Yeah.
And that's one of my slogans too. You mentioned self-awareness, like self-love through self-awareness.
You also mentioned in previous conversations about breath work, aside from Kundalini yoga and also the other chanting as well. There is actually a modality which is specifically on taking in deep breaths within for a few seconds and letting it out, and creating a constant rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you teach one of those classes as well, or I think you teach it with somebody else as well.
Yeah.
Have you found that also a big impact in your life, or is it more the Kundalini yoga?
I would say that was the biggest thing, and right from the beginning, that was the first thing I mentioned about the presence process and that inhale and exhale. I am here now in this, but it's the awareness of breath is everything, because that's where all energy comes from. And they talk about, like in yoga, it's like prana and apana. The prana is the inhale coming in, and the apana is the exhale out. So the apana is the eliminatory and the cleansing part of the breath, and the apana is the life force energy. When we connect with our breath and we're aware of our breath, we're present. A lot of the time we're breathing from up here, but sometimes we're not even breathing at all when we're in our mind. We hold our breath, or we tighten in areas, and when we just let ourselves breathe and just be with what's here now, we can take things one at a time, and one thing at a time, and we don't have to get so overwhelmed. There's always going to be things to do. There's always going to be work to be done, and it's kind of getting used to that, and finding a pace that works for you, and pushing your limits. But we don't always have to be in that mode, which is, I realized I was in that mode all the time. I love pushing my limits. I love going to those extremes, but after a while, obviously it got exhausting for my body. And yeah, I'm actually quite passionate about this because it affected me so profoundly, and that's psilocybin mushrooms, magic mushrooms. I remember I did them twice when I was younger, once in like grade 10, I think once in grade 11. I had bad trips both times. I remember my mom took me to the hospital at one point because she was like worried about me. I remember looking at the clock actually when I was in the hospital, and I was just going back and forth, as if time didn't exist. It's hilarious. But anyway, so I decided to try them again after I got sick. And once I tried it, I was like, all the symptoms went away within an hour into my experience, and it was just taking me out into nature. I remember the first time it just took me out into nature. I did it alone, walked out into this backyard area behind these train tracks. So it was my backyard, and then beyond, back behind these train tracks, and just kind of starting to lie down on the ground and just started crying, and it just wouldn't stop. And it was, this energy came over me, like I forgot about you. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I remember this. I keep feeling this like energy of I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I just kept crying. And so there's like this energy of like Mother and Mother Earth, and how I just like forgot about her. Just like forgot about her completely. And my first several trips was and experiences was relating to this, and just like crying to the earth, and almost like my apologies for forgetting my connection. And it was just so profound, is to even just be relating with this energy, and then to feel myself in a healed state. So I really felt I needed to, well, I realized that I needed to really be in touch with my body and to feel this emotional experience as it was connecting me with the earth and with nature in general. And this is what so much of this experience has brought me, and to now really truly knowing my connection to nature and to all things, and to see all things as consciousness. I really had to be in my body, and in that my mind starts to be corrected, my perception starts to change. So by not being in my body and not being present, I was just identifying with my belief systems and just how I saw the world, how I thought about myself, and it was a lot more challenging to make change and to see things from a different angle. So this really helped me experience that, and there was like a teacher in this.
Was the teacher more like also a perspective shift?
Well, it was, it was allowing for this. This teacher was allowing me to see things from different views and different angles of perception, and so I could observe things.
So this is while you're in the mushroom journey.
Yeah. So, and it was a big thing, so this was started to happen, is all of a sudden I became my own therapist. So it was like, I'm there in the therapist chair, but I'm also this one observing and like asking questions, and so these more like aspects that were more related to my insecurities and more my child self, I was able to feel held while going through my emotional experience, while I was like in these deep areas of like sadness and pain and discomfort and just misunderstanding, just confusion and not knowing. I was already gaining the ability to observe, but I was able to feel the love and that observation, the love of like the earth and the love of the mother, how much she loved me, that she just wanted me to feel, and she was holding me, and just for one, to allow myself to surrender in that way, to be held like that was huge and profound, especially for men. Like, we don't let ourselves go there as often as we should, but we truly are supported when we allow ourselves, when we actually want to know the truth of our emotional experience, and we don't just be reactive and then be like, oh no, this is probably what it is. It's not, this is what it probably is. When we're so in touch with our emotional experience and we let it ride to the very end, we know.
Yes.
We know what it is. There's no guessing, you know? So that really assisted in this process, and that's what I relate to mushrooms and in all things. There's a consciousness in mushrooms, and we can come into relationship with that, just like in all these other entheogens and the ones you mentioned.
Like ayahuasca, iboga, DMT as well. Have you ever used any other modality? Like, have you ever tried using DMT or ayahuasca for your healing? Yeah,
I've done ayahuasca once, and I've done DMT twice, and
similar experiences with things coming up with mushrooms as well.
Yeah, similar. DMT I did recently, and that really allowed me to come right into my DNA, right into my chain, my DNA, relating to what my dad has passed down to me, and just in such a moment of oneness, to be able to be aware of some like other relationship conflicts, to be able to like just be with that experience, and as well this experience of just letting myself just so like lean back, and also being like this receptive like feminine energy as well, which I've been more and more relating to, but a strong masculine like confidence in that, like like, you know, I can lean back, I can be like this, and that's okay. Like, I'm not trying to be more powerful than anybody. I want everybody to feel like powerful, but I've been holding myself back from feeling the power that comes from me being responsible and caring about people. I deeply care that I'm going to consider, if you have an issue, I'm going to listen and find out, especially if it's to do with me, and I'm going to want to come to resolution with that. You're going to need to listen to me as well, you know, like it's going to be a back and forth thing.
Well, that's the whole healing process, is to resolve these conflicts, right?
And you know, we can be powerful when we're one with our emotional experience and we let it ride. We become more confident because there's truth. in these emotions. You know?
Now with all this that you've done, which is remarkable, you also help other men out to come out of their shell, I guess, and feel more and express themselves more. What are you doing? If you can tell the world what you're actually doing with that.
So it's called the Sacred Brotherhood, and it's a men's group where we get together, and we usually start with Kundalini Yoga. It differs. We normally start with Kundalini Yoga or some type of breath work, and we basically hold space for other men to, sometimes there's themes, but let's just take an example where there is no theme. What's going on in your life? You know, where are you at? And in the awareness that we hold in this space, there's enough love that is felt there, and it's understood that this is, you can be vulnerable. Like whatever is most relevant to where you are right now, whatever is causing you discomfort or causing you confusion, and in a space where you don't truly know, you can be there. And we're learning, and we're continually learning. We're learning how to communicate with each other in this. You know, maybe someone's giving you a little too much advice. Well, then say that. I'm not really feeling this right now. Like, I kind of really need to be with myself. This is beautiful that I have this space here, so I just kind of want to express a bit more. Some guys, mostly everyone expresses. Some people just haven't experienced a loving space of like men together that they just want to sit and be there. They don't want to say anything, and that's very healing for them. Like that is actually the highest healing for them in that moment. Then, you know. But this is what is inspired me to continue this, and just my relationships with men in my life in general, and guys that I meet. I'm seeing that it's all related. This healing journey is related to giving ourselves so much love that we are simply an example of someone who can freely express, and someone who's not restricted in their expression, which takes away a lot of like the stereotypes of what it means to be a man. Because when we're freely expressed, yeah, sometimes it's going to come out in what is more of a perceived masculine way, but sometimes it's going to come out in what a perceived feminine way, and then it's going to come out in a perceived weird way, or a weak way, or however these ideas are perceived. But the thing is we're having a human experience, and we don't have to label anything. You can just express and just be, and that is beautiful. That is so beautiful.
And the healing journey for everybody is different. Even if like you maybe have had, which seems like a normal life compared to, like, say, somebody else that you know, or a friend or a family member, or somebody you just meet off the street, that doesn't mean you have something that you can't heal. Everybody's got something inside them that can be healed, and it works with working with either yoga or breath work. I totally believe that connecting with yourself, it doesn't matter at what stage you're in your life, will help you. Even if you're 80 years old, 90 years old, you know, you can still do this kind of work.
There's a lot of 40, 50-year-old men who come to the men's groups because there has been such an emotional repression and judgment, you know. And even in the groups, we wrestle, we play around, and you don't have to like wrestle like as far as like aggressively in competition. It could just be like playing.
Yeah.
You know?
So, and being somebody who is experienced in these different techniques, and just even also being open to be there for some total stranger in a lot of cases too, especially for the first few visits too, is a beautiful thing. Chris, thank you very much for joining us for this wonderful journey, on my journey on discovery with people's experiences, and I believe the world thanks you for it too. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Ava. Appreciate it. Much love.
From your heart. I am so perfect, what I am, with all my qualities and all my faults. I am what I am, and that's alright. that's alright.
Tell your family.
I love that man. I love that man. He showed me the way into Kundalini Yoga and many other things. I give thanks for this man. You have no idea.
She taught me how to love.